The Snyder fans, like the sun rising in the east and setting in the west, with skies being blue and grass being green, wake up every morning and continue to fight a losing battle. Exactly for what reason? I have no idea, man. It doesn't matter how much you simp online. It doesn't matter how many Reddit communities you troll. Warner Brothers is never bringing back Zack Snyder to see his vision realized. No, they're never going to sell the rights to the Snyderverse to Netflix so they can continue this cringe interpretation of his edgy metahuman story. No, it's never going to happen. Move on with your life. If you think that Zack Snyder was done so dirty by Warner Brothers, why is it that you fail to support any of his other projects? Why does nobody stand for, we really need to see Army of the Dead 2? Why is it we never hear anything about that? Why is it not release Zack Snyder's take on Sucker Punch? Okay. How many people continuously have 300 Rise of the Empire on a loop? But no. You're just going to continue to be spastic online because James Gunn's Superman is, dominating domestic box offices. It's just going to be hilarious, right? And this is where I'll throw the Snyder Bros a little bone. But when it's all said and done, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for Superman 2025 to eclipse the box office total, not adjusted for inflation, because if we adjust for inflation, Man of Steel is like a $900 million movie, and Superman right now, is getting nowhere close. It could end up getting past the 620, I think, give or take a few million, is what Man of Steel pulled in, but it could get to that level, but honestly, the way that it's looking, and depending on how this weekend shakes out, it's, there's going to be a little bit more ammunition, there's going to be at least a little bit more fresh meat for the Snyder Bros to eat up and use on James Gunn moving forward. But speaking of other projects that those guys could go ahead and focus on, it's like, okay, cool. If you really love Snyder so much, how about supporting Rebel Moon? Rebel Moon and how well it's performing right now? Well, if you want to check in on the Rebel Mooniverse, well, there's a new game that you can play on Netflix that's out there. Bloodline, that mobile Rebel Moon game, out now for Netflix subscribers. Bloodline, a Rebel Moon game, is available now via the Netflix app, which is kind of hilarious because I take a look at those characters and honestly, I've probably watched coverage of Rebel Moon more because I find it absolutely hilarious because I've never liked Zack Snyder. I think he's a total hack than most of his diehard fans have, and none of those characters. Like, you got the chick with the dual-wielding, dual-ended blades. Oh my god, that is the most quintessential Zack Snyder thing ever. It's the edgiest character that he's ever created. But there's nobody there that represents anything that went on in those pathetic movies. So I don't know what you're doing out here. Maybe this is some other, 40K ripoff world building that you're doing. But I don't necessarily think that it's setting the world on fire. Mostly because Zack, he's not exactly champing at the bit to return to the Mooniverse that he apparently loves. But he just has other things to do. It's funny, right? Because Rebel Moon was supposed to be his edgy take on Star Wars, his proposition that he brought before Kathleen Kennedy, and in a rare moment of sobriety told Zack Snyder, no, we're just not going to go ahead and greenlight this. But his cope in continuing Rebel Moon sounds an awful lot like a bunch of the other creatives attached to Star Wars projects, so I find this very funny how we have gone full circle on this. But Rebel Moon video game launches from Netflix as Zack Snyder talks the future of the film franchise, Fortnite obsession, and James Gunn's Superman. Alright, so yeah, he's touching on all the important things, right? Netflix launched its next big project meant to capitalize on the homegrown IP Tuesday with the release of Bloodline, a video game based on Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon film franchise. Set in Snyder's Rebel Mooniverse, Bloodline is the online co-op action game developed by studio Super Evil Megacorp. Okay, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Splintered Fate. I think that was the bad one. It might be the good. I think maybe. Okay, Catalyst Black and Vainglory. I've never heard of those two. But okay. That lets players take on a role of a rebel. Oh my god, picking between the variety of classes. Okay, cool. So it's a gauntlet style game that I'm sure is probably top down. I'm sure there's microtransactions or some shit like that. The game is available exclusively for Netflix subscribers for free via the Netflix app. So if you buy a subscription, you get the game for free. That's not really how it works, but okay. I'm a giant Fortnite fan. I play tons of Fortnite. Of course, Zack Snyder is a Fortnite fan. I'm not surprised. That is the least surprising thing we're going to come across. So for me, I really don't have a huge experience with campaign style games. Yeah, we know, because your story storytelling prowess. It's very emblematic of somebody who just simply plays online games. That's cool, and it's not really my gaming experience, so it's fun to kind of get in that headspace, and it's really, honestly, they're just super smart about that stuff, and I was really amazed at that level of detail. It's hilarious, right? Because it's supposed to be, well, apparently that Rebel Moon game is supposed to be very story-driven, but Zack couldn't care less about that. Are we getting a little bit of insight about how much he cares about this franchise that he is so passionate about until it released and nobody cared about it and everybody mocked it? Oh, interesting. Okay. And they really, honestly, yeah, they're just super smart about that stuff, and I was really amazed at the level of detail. Everything is detailed, but the sort of narrative detail, oh god, detail, where they really kind of are giving you these exciting boss fights and they make you better because they kind of teach you how to play. Wow, that's just basic ass game design, but somebody who is just so foreign to the concept of basic archetypal storytelling beats, yeah, just basic gameplay mechanics, it's probably, again, something quite foreign to him. Bloodline is tied directly to Snyder's Rebel Moon film franchise at Netflix, which launched with, yes, Part 1, A Child of Fire. Oh, God. In December of 2023, followed up by, yes, the sequel, Part 2, The Scargiver, which is just so grainy. Let's go with that one. In April of 2024, both films received limited theatrical releases prior to streaming on Netflix. But if it would have got wide theatrical releases, according to Zack Snyder when he was on the Joe Rogan podcast, if you just take into account the billion people that would have watched it at home, and then you just also take a look at the numbers that Netflix has, and you just double those numbers, because you have to think that at least 2 people are watching every time that Rebel Moon gets turned on. That would have made it, if you could have sold tickets to that, would have been twice as successful as Barbie. He's a very smart individual. So outside of Bloodline, will Rebel Moon continue as a film franchise? Snyder doesn't know just yet. Oh shit. As he's focused on completing his untitled LAPD SWAT action movie for Netflix, and he's also contracted. And God, we got news of that. I forget. It was earlier this year, but how long ago it was? A month or 2 at this point in time. But he's also working on, oh God, something that's probably gonna suck. Okay, but yeah, he's working on a UFC movie as well. So no, I don't need to see, his edgy take on like late 2000s affliction gear wearing mixed martial art enthusiasts. I don't want it. I really don't want it. I got sidetracked into this, okay? Talking about his LAPD SWAT movie. Not sidetracked. It's all uptown problems, as they say, for Netflix. I'm working on this LAPD SWAT movie, Snyder said. So I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to sort of let that Rebel Moon world boil for a minute, and I'm going to go do this. And frankly, it's very exhausting. Long process doing the 2 movies together. So it was nice to have a bit of a break from it. I love it like crazy. Yeah, I love it, trust me. But it's nice to have a bit of a break. So yeah, we'll see if after I finish this, when I come back, or where we are with everything. Yeah, we'll see what's happening over that. Maybe okay. So as whether additional scripts have already been written, and if there's a planned film count in mind. It's interesting because his writing partner, I forget the fellow's name, but he said that, oh yeah, no, we have a lot of ideas for 3, 4, 5, 6 movies. Oh my God, it's fantastic. We're just a wellspring of information and intrigue, and we got so many interesting stories to tell across the double trilogy that Zack Snyder wanted. Oh my God, to make that one make sense. A double trilogy, okay? And then he's also wanting to have director's cuts over the top of it, because that is something that Variety very lazily forgot to report. But he also had the Chalice of Blood and as the director's cut of A Child of Fire, and I think it was The Curse of Forgiveness. Oh God, was the director's cut of Part 2, which is ostensibly all the same story beats. It's just with more tits, blood, and vulgar language, because Zack Snyder is an adult filmmaker and he makes films for adults. But talking about additional scripts and whether or not they'll ever see the light of day, there's tons of stories. So I mean, I think it's endless. But again, like I said, I'm wanting to see how we want to and in what way we would want to move forward, if at all. Yeah, see, I got so many ideas that I don't even know where to start, and I'll get back to it at some point in time. And speaking of franchises, Snyder, who is well known for his time spent within the DC universe, yeah, exactly, unfortunately didn't have a review ready for the first James Gunn's new Superman film, but they're such good friends, right? Because they worked together on the Rick and Morty project, and also, hey, they were gonna, well, James Gunn, he had the full intention of breaking the internet by tweeting out that picture of them meeting up for what we could later deduce was them coming together to do the voice acting roles for Rick and Morty, and that ended up going over like a wet fart. So yeah, there you go. But the Superman film, he said, I plan on going to see it. Okay, this weekend. I don't know if I'm seeing it because I have a horse show. My kids ride horses, but I'm going to try and see it after that. Yeah, I would imagine it was probably, your kids riding horses. But if you were saying you were going to go down to Tijuana to see a horse-like show, it would be a little bit of a different story. But yes, that's Zack Snyder's plans into the future, working on an LAPD SWAT movie and letting Rebel Moon die on the vine to the applause of empty auditoriums everywhere. Sucks to suck, I guess. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Conspello. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.